What's up, guys? Welcome back. We are jumping into the Cordy here. This is a cool one. It's $5 entry, one entry max. You get one bullet, make it count, make your stand. 22,500 entrants, 100K in prizes, 25K to first, and of course, half point PPR, start three, standard underdog best ball fair. We, happy to report, are in the fourth spot. Now, the reason we're happy to report this is, let's be real, you kind of want to be top five. For me, I actually want to be top four. I am not against Jackson Smith-Njigba in the five. Think he's a great pick. Think he's a great place to start your team. Puka is just a better place to start your team, right? And again, this is single entry, so we might see some people in these lobbies shooting their shot and taking their stand on guys that is dissimilar from traditional ADP. And I'm here for it because, candidly, I feel like kind of that same way myself about certain guys. That being said, I have also said in a couple of previous drafts here that I'm a little less confident drafting from this end of the board. And here we are. We only get one shot. We got to do this right. So, lessons learned from earlier drafts on this end of the board. You got to be aware of the tight ends. You're going to be enticed by potentially Browers in the second, Trey McBride in the third, and Colston Loveland in the fourth. And if you are, it's all good, but you got to pay attention to your construction because these are start three. We're going to snap off Puka here, no questions asked, and move on. We would love to see Bowers here. If he makes it back, I'll absolutely snap Bowers off. I think Puka and Bowers in 1 and 2 is a recipe for potentially winning all the money this year. But the other thing that could happen, depending on what happens at the back end of the board here, is we get some interesting ADP fall on some of those running backs that traditionally don't make it this far back. You know, the end of that great wall of running backs is, Achane and Derrick Henry and even Chase Brown. If one of those guys could fall down here because of hilarity ensues down this end, I think we'll feel pretty good. So, all right, that being said, let's see what happens here. And no hilarity. You know, you've got Gibbs, Robinson, Chase, Nakua, Smith-Njigba, McCaffrey, Taylor, and Brown. So basically straight chalk the whole way through. McCaffrey, Taylor, and Brown. Brown is ahead of Taylor. I don't know. Whatever. It's close. Again, we'll be looking for Bowers here. If we don't get a Bowers, we'll absolutely try to snap off Drake London or an A.J. Brown or a Rashee Rice at 21. And then, interestingly enough, at 28, that's where I might be that guy who pulls up their guy. And my guy at 28 would be Javonte Williams. So we'll see what happens here. But I think if you guys have watched me drop at all, you know that I am insanely overweight Cam Stataboo. And in a tournament like this that's one bullet, I also will be headhunting him at 45 should he make it back. It'll just depend on the board texture and what players are leaning into. But we're in a good spot to start our draft with Nakua plus an asset there. Barkley and Brown go here at the turn. So, again, everything pretty standard. Genty does fall into the second round. But I think Cook, Barkley, Brown, and Genty are all interchangeable to taste. It just depends on what you're looking for and who you like. And for me, Cook is the highest of that pile. And then, you know, these guys are all kind of similar to me. Barkley, Brown, and Genty are all kind of similar to me. So Jefferson goes with Hampton. CeeDee Lamb will probably go with Chase Brown. Goes Ken Walker. Okay. Amon-Ra St. Brown will probably go with Brown. Just be the Browns, right? Yeah, so far no one getting crazy. No one doing anything nutty from any part of the ball, from any part of the board. I was looking at football here and thinking football. All right. St. Brown player to draft. All right, does snap off Chase Brown. No, excuse me. Snaps off Drake London. Oh, yeah, Brown went here. What am I talking about? Brown went here. Okay, Henry goes. So London does pump up above Achane. So this gives us potentially Brock Bowers right on cue, which I'm happy with Achane or Bowers. I'm kind of ecstatic with either. So let's see what our drafter here at 5 chooses to do with his pairing of Smith-Njigba. He gives us the option for both. My goodness. All right, I'm going to snap off Achane for better or for worse. I do think Bowers is definitely a piece that is going to be part of the winning squads this year. And you'd say, well, cool, why aren't you taking him there? He's going to be a piece of it. I think getting Achane at 21 is too good a value to pass. And again, we might get Trey McBride at 28 or Colston Loveland at 45. And I can't pass Achane at 21. Even though I think the Dolphins are going to be a dumpster fire this year, Achane so far has proven to be pretty inelastic to his quarterback play and his offensive setting. I mean, it's hard to say that the offense is going to be that much worse than we saw it be last year, right? So I still think the upside for him is very high. The Robinson player grabs Bowers. What a gift down here. But it'll be interesting to see if the Robinson player can balance out their team after getting Bowers there. Ladd McConkey at 25. Neighbors at 26. Okay. So now, after going chalk to begin with, now some folks are starting to get wild. Are we going to get Rashi Rice? We are. Oh my goodness. Rashi Rice was a consideration for pick 2 for me. And so was Trey McBride and Jeremiah Love in this range. But after getting Achane, knowing that we'll be looking at sort of Cam Stadaboo or David Montgomery or Jacobs if he falls here, this is just too enticing. Being able to get Nakua, Achane, and Rice as my starting 3. I absolutely love it. It looks like Trey McBride is sliding pretty considerably, but yeah, and then we can look to pick up Mahomes close to his ADP down here, and Stafford, same thing. So that might put us in a position where we can pass on some of the marquee quarterbacks that go in round 6. Yeah, we might be able to do that, right? There's that great wall of running backs, or sorry, great wall of quarterbacks that go in round 6, and we might be able to pull up some positional value there and try to bank on Mahomes and Matthew Stafford for the stat for these two players later. Honestly, we could also look at grabbing a Malik Willis late. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right. In Jidver Collins Hall, not bad. I'm not huge on Hall, but not bad. Not huge on Collins either. I don't trust CJ Stroud. I think Nico Collins is a phenomenal receiver. If Nico Collins was on an offense worth its salt, let's say Nico Collins played on the Bills, Nico Collins would be going up here almost assuredly. His quarterback play is suspect, or at least was last year and the year before. But McCaffrey, AJ Brown, Jeremiah Love, I like that stat. Taylor Henry Higgins, like that stat. Trey McBride falls all the way back to pick 33. That's probably as late as I see him go. A gift to the Lamb player for sure, but I wouldn't trade in our start. I mean, we've got 2 second round picks on our team, along with Puka Nacua. I'm not going to trade. I'm really not going to trade that start in at all. After McBride Flowers goes off the board, Cook, Genty, Stack, ETN in with their running back, robust running back start. Barkley Brown balance out and go to Buka. I think the Buka down there is insane value. Okay, then they pick up Tet. So this is probably like a Garrett Wilson here, which I'm not high on Garrett Wilson, but they could also pick up Josh Allen, but then they're going to have no wide receivers through 4, which I think is a tough place to be in a format where you got to start 3 of them. So we'll kind of see what happens there. They go Josh Jacobs. This is tough. This is tough up here, dude. Honestly, if Javonte Williams could fall to us, I mean, I'm looking at these 2 guys, right? I honestly, if Josh Allen made it all the way back to us, that would be another consideration as well. But at 45, I don't suspect to see Josh Allen. I certainly don't suspect to see Javonte Williams. So it would be absolute gift. And you got a couple of teams with 1 running back here that will probably snap him off. Like, there's no way the Njigba Collins Hall player says, yeah, don't give me Javonte Williams on this team. It'd be sick. So, all right, the Lamb Walker McBride team then stacks in Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, London. Yeah, London going up here with Amon-Ra is pretty cool. All right, they pick up the Williams brothers. They did Javonte Williams there. We're praying for Stadabu to fall to us. If he doesn't, we can pull up Loveland like we were talking about. Additionally, we could grab like a McCoy or an Evans. I'm getting higher on Evans with all the news about Parasol. Even with the re-signing of Debo, I still am pretty high on Mike Evans this year. So that's a consideration. We're going to have our pick of McLaurin, Stadabu, or Evans. Okay, just Colston Loveland goes there, which I'm okay. I probably would have liked to have him, but I'm okay with that. McLaurin goes. We get our boy. We can't not take him. I think his ceiling is a top 10 running back this year. Honestly, I think his ceiling, and I hesitate saying this because I don't want people to just be like, all right, I'm not watching this guy. He's ridiculous. This guy could be like running back 6 or 7 this year. If he stays healthy, he's going to be the workhorse. I think he's going to get plenty of work on a down-to-down basis. He's going to get goal line looks. And I actually think Neighbors getting healthy is better for him. So it's only upside. I'm very high on Cam Stadabu this year. I am ecstatic with our team through 4, so let's really try to lock in and keep this team going. Jameson Williams would be the dream here as our wide receiver 3. I DeAndre Swift is very good as well. I guess either of those guys would be great. JMO goes there, so will we get a DeAndre Swift? If we're able to grab um, Swift here, going to say we kind of don't have any tough decisions. With him going, the only other thing I could do is grab Devonte Adams and double stack him with Puka Nakua. I'm not sure we want to do that. I don't know if that's a winning recipe, but I'm kind of in for it. You know what? I don't know if this is right. You guys are going to have to leave some comments. There's obviously the Lamar Jackson there, but now we've got Nakua and Adams in an offense that's going to be ridiculously high flying. We will have to diversify our wide receiver portfolio because obviously now we're sitting on two round 11 buys. But man, oh man, that's just so hard to pass on. That's just really hard to pass. So the other considerations there, like Juckins and Tootin, they're fine, but I think having both of Matt Stafford's main targets are that's a pretty enticing place to be. Let's go ahead and take a look real quick at ADP for Mahomes and Stafford. Okay, so you got 93 and 106, and let's see how we stack up with this. 93 is right at ADP for Mahomes, and 106 we'd have to pull up Stafford by about a half a round. But again, what this should do is open us up to not have to take one of the marquee guys in this range right here of 69 to 76, where you see that whole run of like Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts. You see all those guys go in that range. So if we don't have to click into one of those quarterbacks or we opt not to, we can grab like Warren or Pollard or one of these receivers like Harrison or Parker Washington. So we'll be in okay shape. So Lamar Jackson's sliding down the board. The Allen player does get more. Good for him. Yeah, it's this is a great start through five. Again, I maybe am a little tepid on Adams and Nakua, but we're cornering the two top receivers for, if not the highest powered, one of the highest powered offenses in the league. How can that be a bad thing, right? And if that week 17 game is a complete shootout, we're going to be in good shape there. Yeah, feels pretty good. So, all right, Barkley Brown then goes Ibuka McMillan, Adunze Brian Thomas. I like that strategy. The Jefferson Hampton Flowers player grabs Allen Moore and then Jackson and to step with Flowers. So this is a pretty cheeky little stack here. I think this is pretty powerful. We did something like this the other day, if you call it that draft, where we did Cook and Chase Brown, Cook in round one, Chase Brown in round two. Then we ended up with T. Higgins here, grab Josh Allen, got DJ Moore, and then grab Joe Burrow. I loved my team. That may be my favorite team that I've drafted so far. I think it was in the $3 Schnauzer. So I actually like this strategy when you're at this end of the board of trying to get Allen with his proposed number one threat, and then grabbing a Flowers or a Higgins. In this instance, Higgins had already gone, but and then grabbing Jackson if he falls. It's pretty good. That's pretty good. You got the two best quarterbacks in the league and their number one receiving threats. Pretty good. And Jackson and Flowers and co have the Bengals in Week 17, which I think is going to be a high flying matchup. All right, so if we don't want to click into one of these marquee quarterbacks here, I'm going to take Tyler Warren. I think this sets us up in a prime position to be able to do so. Um, yeah, I just think that that's way too enticing because Warren is one of those guys where I think you definitely want him if you can get him, and we got him pretty far past his ADP, right? His ADP is 64, and we got him 5 picks later. And then on the turnaround, I'm absolutely aiming for Tony Pollard. I guess I don't really mind Quentin Johnson either. Ramondre Stevenson and Chuba Hubbard are also consideration, but I think there's a pretty pronounced teardrop off coming up here pretty soon. And our ability to snag two positional players out of this run and then look to grab our quarterbacks later could be could be really good. Could be really, really good. So, with Warren, we can also look to grab Daniel Jones and just go Mahomes, Stafford, Jones, and have them all later. And again, while everybody's vying for quarterbacks here, we're grabbing positional advantage and feeling pretty good. And I think Warren is going to be a pretty unique team up with Nakua and Achan. Like I again, there's 22,000 entrants, so I don't know that this is going to be a one of one, but it certainly could be pretty unique. All right, so do we want Pollard or do we want Quentin Johnson? Is the question. Um, I actually think I'm going to click into Quentin Johnson here. I think that running back wise, the guys who I'm going to look to grab. Oh, I was about to say running back wise, the guys I'm going to look to grab in here, but this is where we're snagging our quarterbacks. So I guess I wouldn't be, but there is some good running back value down there. That's kind of like the Dowdle, Jonathan Brooks, J.K. Dobbins range. So okay, we can evaluate. Maybe we don't need Stafford and Mahomes, and there's also a world where Mahomes doesn't make it to us at ADP. That could happen. I'm not going to cry if that doesn't happen. It's totally fine. But in retrospect now, thinking about that, I probably wanted to click into Pollard there because our running back options after you pass, where's Jordan Mason? Jordan Mason get kind of dink and dunk. Like Krusty Merritt, Aaron Jones, Rodriguez, even Tyrone Tracy. Like if Stadabu goes down, this team just doesn't win. None of these guys have a path to being the number one guy. Where I think like a Rashad White and a J.K. Dobbins and even a Corum, they all have number one guy potential. But that's all right. We can grab a smattering of running backs later. Grab the Marshawn Lloyds and Ray Davises of the world and stack up our room that way. I do like having Quentin Johnson here as a fourth wide receiving threat. Just it really balances out our room when we already have two pieces of the offense for. Yeah, when we have two pieces of the Rams, getting a fourth receiver of Quentin Johnson's ilk is, I think, a pretty good deal. It's a pretty good deal. Okay, so that's what I was saying about this situation down here. We're going to get ourselves in if we want to pull up Matthew Stafford at 10, pull him up here. Is I actually really liked a lot of the names on the board. Not that Addison and Downs are going to make it back to us, but even like Brooks, Michael Wilson, Worthy, J.K. Dobbins, Pittman, Jacoby Myers, Gainwell, Rashad White, for example. I think I'm super high on him. So we'll see if Mahomes makes it down to us. If Mahomes gets to us here, we'll take him. And then maybe there's a world where we're not going to stack. Although it's just so hard to say, how are we not going to stack Stafford with Nakua and Devontae Adams? Like that just seems ridiculous. So yeah, I think we're just that's what we're resigned to. I hate to pass Dobbins. Let's see, would Rashad White make it back to us? I doubt it. We're like 117. I doubt he would. Oh, Mahomes that sniped. Well, wouldn't you know? Mahomes that sniped. So in that situation, let's go ahead and grab one of these guys. You know what? Let's grab our guy. Let's grab J.K. Dobbins. Happy to throw him on this squad, and then we'll grab Matt Stafford on the turnaround. Now, if Matt Stafford doesn't make it on the turnaround and I get double sniped, I don't know what to say. It is what it is. I don't know ball. But there's still some good quarterbacks on the board in Dart and I was about to say in Burrow, but Burrow goes. All right, let's hope we don't get sniped on Stafford. Maybe Stafford there was the right pick, just to ensure we get him, and then we get whatever running back we want on the turn. That may have been a mistake, but maybe we don't get punished for it. We'll see how this goes. You know, uh, neighbors. The neighbors player you got to imagine wants Dart. So if one of these, they already have two quarterbacks here. What are they looking at? McConkey, Burden. They got Williams, Lemon, Harvey. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. I think yeah. In retrospect, after Mahomes gets sniped there, I'm supposed to take Matthew Stafford here and then grab whatever, whether it would be Gainwell or Rashad White or J.K. Dobbins. I'm supposed to grab them there. Now, I don't think Hertz Lawrence is going to snap into Matt Stafford here. They don't. All right, so we don't get punished. I was about to say that's going to be pretty ridiculous. So our team is insane. Matthew Stafford at quarterback, Etienne Stadabu and J.K. Dobbins at running back, Nakua, Rice, Adams, Johnston, and Warren. Our team is insane. I'm actually glad Mahomes didn't make it back to us. And the reason I'm saying that is getting J.K. Dobbins with these two, I feel so much cleaner at running back. And now what we can look to do is obviously grab Jones. Where do we go? He does like 146. So let's look at our ADP where we have to put him. We can put him here at 141 if we want, or we can hope he falls to back to us at 148. And then we only got to grab one more quarterback on top of that. And honestly, Malik Willis is of another consideration to me as well, which Malik Willis is going at 134. So I, especially having HN, I think Willis has great rushing upside. I'm kind of cool with this. And now we're going to continue to flesh out our wide receiving room and our running back room and feel really darn good about having this construction. Yeah, I haven't drafted a team with this tone or texture the entire time, and at this point, I've drafted almost 100 teams, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. After we take Stafford, Wilson, Gainwell, and Nix are off the board, so we're getting into that quarterback territory where we're like Goff, Murray, and Love are like the last of the Mohicans on the board, and then Baker Mayfield and Shug. Honestly, Shug is another consideration. I'm not as super jived on him naked, but if we could pick him up at 124, we could look to headhunt Jawan Johnson later. Where does Jawan Johnson go? 156. Okay. So we have options here. We absolutely have options here. And what we could do, if we're going to try to pull Daniel Jones here at 141, if we get shut, we can pull Shut off here at 117 rather than letting him slip. Pick up another positional player here on the turn, whether it be, one of these guys or whatever, and grab another tight end if we want. And then we can float back around and then grab Daniel Jones also. I think that actually might be the go. Whoops. That actually might be the go. So, all right, Parasol going off at 109. I'm not sure this person got the message. I don't think our buddy here, Parasol, is playing this year. And it's a shame. It's what's funny is I was posting up a draft um, the day that I record this, the draft that I posted on that day, because I'm ahead, right? Uh, I'm drafting and I click into Parasol and feel really good about it as my third receiver. And I was editing and rendering that video down and I was like, don't feel so good now. But that's the nature of this, especially when you're drafting teams in mid July, right? When you're drafting teams in mid July, a lot of that's going to happen. You're just not going to wind up with some team that had just flat zeros on them. But that's kind of unilateral across the board. Parasol wasn't somebody I was necessarily overweight on or underweight on. It's probably slightly overweight on him, considering 8% is like, the field. But it's okay. We are cool with that. Okay. So there's actually still Jordan Love on the board, too. There's honestly, now that I look at this sort of run, what I might do is say, hey, Shud's probably going to wheel, right? And we might want to grab Concepcion here. And then we get Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, or Shud on the turnaround, most likely. Yeah, let's do that. Concepcion is pretty freaking great to have as our wide receiver 5. He does have an 11 bye week, something to note. So when we take our 6th and 7th receiver, we got to kind of stay away from week 11. But what's cool about this is now if Shud makes it back to us at 124, which is just right past his ADP, I'm absolutely going to take him. If he doesn't make it back to us, you got Baker Mayfield as well. I'll absolutely take him and then look to grab Jalen McMillan if he makes it back to us on the turn. Yeah, and feel really good about having any of these guys paired up with Matthew Stafford. So I actually have Shud slightly above Mayfield, but Mayfield has both McMillan and Ted Hurst as late stacking options. And since we're probably not going to get Juwan Johnson, well, we might. We don't have Tyson. We don't have Olave. This is kind of tough actually. I was pretty in on Shud, but now when I think about Ted Hurst late and I think about Jalen McMillan late, Baker Mayfield seems pretty interesting here. You know what? Let's snap him off. Let's snap off Baker Mayfield. Shud is not to be on this team. We're still going to headhunt Daniel Jones late. Or I guess Malik Willis as well. Like, we're happy to have either of these guys as our QB3. Juwan Johnson's a little less important now. With Tyler Warren, I think there's a world where if you go with a more premium second tight end, you can stop with 2. I think at this point, we're going to take 3 tight ends, and they'll probably be, in the range of Kenyon Sadiq and Juwan Johnson, probably. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, it's pretty cool to get Mayfield that far past ADP, but I could have guessed or forecasted that as we had most of our teams to our left take double quarterback already. So, I guess they took love there, but Shud goes off slightly after. Did the Olave player get Shud? No, and I think, oh, goodness. Okay, so the McCaffrey, Love, Price, A.J. Brown, Loveland, Harrison player. Has DK Metcalf Worthy? The Worthy player, it's interesting. They took Worthy and passed Mahomes here when they needed that quarterback. And then they end up with Tyler Shugg as their first quarterback. I love him as my second or my third. I don't know if I want him as my first. That's as high as I am on him this year. That's tough. That's pretty freaking tough. Yeah. I'm happy that we got Stafford stacked with Adams and Nakua. I think that's ridiculous. Mayfield again has some late stacking options which feel pretty good. Now that I have Matthew Stafford and Baker Mayfield, I'm less inclined to take Jones ahead of schedule. And what I'm more interested in doing is taking Jalen McMillan ahead of schedule and then wheeling Jones down. I just think he's a very enticing target in this range, and I want to make sure we get him. What's his bye week 10? Perfect. And put him in as our sixth receiver. We are going to need to start looking at running backs. Woody Marks, I guess, is a guy who I think has week to week upside, agnostic to whether you have um, Montgomery in the mix. But there's also a lot of late running backs that I think are completely serviceable that we can wait for on the turn. Dylan Sampson, Brian Robinson, Sean Tucker, Ray Davis. So, and I think McMillan is the last of the tier of wide receivers where you still care. I guess this Deshaun Stribling for a 24-hour window was that guy, and then they re-signed Debo Samuel. Which where's Debo Samuel's? He's down here 160. So ADP hasn't really corrected on him yet because it takes time. So many drafts and their average, the algorithm averages it against where he's been drafted on average. That being said, he's really an interesting pickup. Does Jalen McMillan go? Yeah, let's go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and grab, um, well, let's grab Woody Marks. Daniel Jones went, so did Jalen McMillan. And then when it turns around to us, we could grab one of these um, tight ends, or we could grab Debo Samuel if he doesn't get snapped off. Where's the Purdy player? The Purdy player's here. Yeah, Debo Samuel's probably going to get snapped off. But I'm happy to have Woody Marks as our fourth running back. And Concepcion here really helped me feel better about Woody Marks. So we can still look for Ted Hurst later with Mayfield. Still be completely cool with that. But the other thing is that I do like this range of tight ends quite a bit. In fact, I think Chade, Aranda Gatson, Brenton Strange all have tremendous upside, even like a Hunter Henry. So I think maybe we'd look at one of these guys. Debo Samuel, like I said, is going at 160. No, he does right there. Yeah, I had a suspicion the Purdy player. Did Purdy get Mike Evans too? Yeah. All right. So this team that went Bijan Robinson, then got Bowers, went Neighbors, Evans, Williams, Washington, Stevenson. Purdy is stacked with Evans and Debo Samuel, and Dart is stacked with Neighbors and Likely. Yeah, they did pretty good. They only have two running backs, so that's going to be kind of tricky. That actually is insane. But their team's really good. It's just they only have two running backs, so that's they're obviously going to have to get a bunch of handcuff players later. And they opt to go with after having Bowers and Likely, they opt for Chig here. I think that's wrong. I think that's just objectively wrong. I don't think you need a third tight end necessarily, and I think you want to lean into um, grabbing a positional player there. Out of this range of guys, I'm kind of highest on Hunter Henry, so I'm going to grab him. I know we don't have Drake May, but Brenton Strange and Rhonda Gatson are both great. I just think Hunter Henry is a really good value. I think he fits into that offense, has great week to week upside. We're already rocking Tyler Warren. So now when we look at quarterback, we are going to need one more. Aaron Rodgers, Fernando Mendoza are the two that I prefer out of the back here. And as I look at ADP, so we're at 165, 172. So yeah, we can get one of these guys hopefully at 172. We'll pick whichever one we want. 165, we're in the range of Bigsby, Flournoy, Kamara. Dalton Schultz is very enticing down there as well. Kamara's not really, I'm not of interest. Dylan Sampson is of more interest to me, right, than Kamara. My guess is that that player to our left with Bijan Robinson is going to grab Brian Robinson. Would we be total maniacs and just complete ridiculous to grab Brian Robinson here and cut him off from getting it? Because remember, you got to make it out of your pod first. Yeah, you want to go ahead and get into this final of 75 seats, but you got to make it out of your pod. And letting the Bijan Robinson drafter, who has shirked his running back responsibilities the entirety of this draft, feels, I don't know. I don't really ever counter draft. I don't think that's a winning strategy at all. But it is a consideration. We do need a fifth running back. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I don't think that that's worth leaning into necessarily. But if he passes it on him, he could be our fifth running. I would absolutely take him as our fifth running back. So, all right, Algier's another guy I'm interested in this range. So I'll pop Algier over. Um, None of these wide receivers really interest me. We do need two more. We need one more quarterback, one more running back, two more wide receivers, and a third tight end. Like I said, Schultz and Hawkinson are both pretty good. I like AJ Barner a lot too. So, all right, Algier goes there. I think when it gets to us at 65, 165, we're going to snap off Aaron Rodgers, and then that'll open us up for Muth later. He's down at 192, and 192 is, right here. We can get him going through. So, yeah, we'll grab. Oh, Aaron Rodgers goes. That stinks. Which one? I mean, the only really guy left is Fernando Mendoza. All right, we'll grab him. Actually, we'll go ahead and take one of these players first. So, all right, I'll take Schultz. I think I feel pretty good about Schultz. And then we'll get Fernando Mendoza on the turnaround. We could also wait now and just grab like a Tua or whatever super late if we wanted to. The reason I say that is up here you can still get access to like Bigsby or Dylan Sampson, whereas if we punt on these guys, they're not making it. They're not making it back. That's a consideration. Baker Mayfield gets Cade Otton at 187. So that would be for us a little past ADP. So yeah, I guess we'll take him as our third. So here we get our option and opportunity. We could pull up Mendoza. We could grab Dylan Sampson or Brian Robinson. Or he passed Brian Robinson. I mean, I'm actually kind of high on him getting some alternative work. So do we want to pull up Mendoza here is the question. We risk not getting him back if we don't. But I don't think I really care. So yeah, all right. We're going to go Brian Robinson, sneak him in as our fifth running back, kind of be done at that position now. We'll look to pick up, we're done at tight end, so we're not have to worry about Otten, right? How are we on wide receiving? Yeah, okay, so we need a couple more wide receivers and one more quarterback. Yeah, I really like this team. I guess Shador Sanders is in play for us late too. Like last round, Shador Sanders is an option. We can click him in last round if we want. And then we'll go wide receiver on the next turnaround here. And then click in Shador Sanders at 213 and pair him up with Concepcion. I think that's fine. Although I don't know that he's going to start all year. I think it's just going to be kind of a shit show up there of them trying to figure out what's going on. So we'll see how that plays out. What we're drafting at 189, 196. So 189, 196 looks like Jeremy Bernard, looks like Tank Dell, looks like Dontavian Wicks, looks like I don't really want Darnell Mooney. Looks like Ted Hurst. Yeah, grab him for sure. Um, yeah, all these guys are fine for sure. Thornton is one of my like late round clicks very commonly. So, but yeah, these are guys that we'll probably see, and if we see better, we'll take better, right? And then we'll grab Shador Sanders at the very end. I'm not, I'm not super keen on that, and I think we did kind of misclick somewhere in here and not pick up a quarterback. I think that picking up another quarterback was the right thing to do. I think when you go Stafford Mayfield, you absolutely want three. Um, and I don't think you want your third to be Shador Sanders, but that's okay. If this team fires on all cylinders, which I think it could and it should, right? Like any of these teams, our team's ridiculous. Absolutely freaking ridiculous. Puka Nakua and Rashi Rice stacked with Achan and Statabu also having access to Warren. And then our next three receivers are Devontae Adams, Quentin Johnson, and Casey Concepcion. This team is absolutely stacked. Yeah, we're weak at quarterback. It's definitely our weakest aspect, but whatever. Like, can't be strong everywhere. The other consideration is Brissett. I actually am pretty high on Brissett. I'm higher than Brissett than most. So we could grab like a um, a Hurst and a Brissett here. Brissett's going to be unstacked, but like he's a completely serviceable quarterback. He slings the heck out of the football. I actually might be down for that. We'll grab Brissett's at 192. We'll grab Brissett first, and then we'll grab Hurst on the turnaround. I think that that's actually the way to do this. Should he make it back to us? So, all right, Mendoza finally goes off the board. Yeah, I literally said I wasn't planning on him making it back to us, and I'm not even that high in Mendoza. I think if you have Brock Bowers defensively, you can go after Mendoza. I think otherwise, it's kind of the same thing with Brissett, but I didn't want to pay for Mendoza up here when I don't even really want him on the team. Rogers would have been a nice snipe in here at 165. Was not to be, so all good. And we didn't have our option at Stroud, and I don't like Bryce Young, so Daniel Jones, absolutely, I think we would have taken here, but I think we were happy to get Woody Marks, so we'll take Jacoby Brissett over Geno Smith. Dude, I love Ray Davis down here and Sean Tucker. I love both these guys down here. I think that this is people really haven't caught on that you kind of want to be drafting these guys. Um, yeah, I don't know. Actually, Sean Tucker would fit the makeup of our team with Baker Mayfield, but I don't think we want to go up to six running backs. Honestly, I think we just want to stick where we're at with five and make sure we secure seven receivers. I think that is absolutely what you want to do. So we'll grab Hurst here as long as Ernest doesn't snap him off from us here. And then we'll get whoever we get in the final round. It could be a Tyquan Thornton. Most likely will be, honestly. Is there anybody else down here of interest? Ayuk, no way. Thank you. Kirk is having some medical issues. Troy Franklin's okay as well, I guess. Keon Coleman's fine. I think even as a last round click, Keon Coleman is totally fine. Um, Booty's making some training camp splash. Right. All right. So let's take a look. The team that went Cook, Genty, ETN, Jacobs. They then go Watson, Tyson, Pierce, Godwin, Myers. Grab Kyler Murray, grab Elite Willis, grab Bryce Young, grab Fernando Mendoza. Okay, so they punted on quarterback like we did, but they got four of them to make up for it. And so they get all of the running back value up top. Then they say, okay, we're done. They grab five straight running wide receivers. Then they get their smattering of quarterbacks and tight ends through the middle. Grab another wideout. Grab another quarterback. Grab Stowers down here. And then it'll be interesting to see if they snap off Ray Davis. Ray Davis hasn't gone off the board yet, which is crazy. The Giddens player goes to McCaffrey, but not Taylor. Anybody else do anything wild? Bijan Robinson, again, they only got Ramondre Stevenson. They wind up with Tank Bisbee and Jaden Blue. I guess that's okay. I still think they're too light at running back. Like, all right. So the James Cook player very wisely grabs Wade Davis. I think this is, they actually did great with this. After taking four straight running backs, they totally pulled this team together. Murray is not stacked with anybody, right? I don't think. Malik Willis doesn't need to be. Yeah, actually, the thing about their quarterbacks is that they're all unstacked. They don't have Tet. They don't have Addison. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, if you're gonna do Murray here, maybe you take Addison there. I don't know. Now that I look at it, yeah, they're sick at running back. They're pretty good. They're pretty deep at wide receiver, but this is five of the same guy to me, and their quarterback situation is weaker than ours. I'll take Stafford and Mayfield over Willis, Murray, Young, and Mendoza any day. All right, it's coming up on us. Of these guys, I don't think it really matters. Um, Pat Bryant, Keon Coleman. You know what? I'll snap in Coleman. I don't think it matters. All right. So final team: Stafford, Mayfield, Brissett at quarterback. Definitely the weakest component of our team, but not complete trash. Achane, Stadabu, Dobbins, Marks, and Robinson at running back. Very respectable running back room. Nakua, Rice, Adams, Johnson, Concepcion, Hurst, and Coleman at wide receiver. Absolutely nutty. Nakua and Rice is nutty enough. Then to have Devontae Adams and say, okay, yeah, but if both these guys aren't going off, you got Johnston and Concepcion to back them up on a week-to-week basis. Sick. And then Warren, Henry, and Schultz. As a single bullet, I think it's great. Let me know in the comments, would you have done anything differently? I appreciate you guys checking out the vid. I thank you guys for checking out the draft. If you like the channel, would you please hit the like and subscribe button? Great way to support me, and I'll see you guys in the next one.